Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Welcome back, everyone. Again, a misfire tonight on our live streams. We were running and then it just disconnected all the channels. Don't know why, and I apologize, but we are, I think, live now. We'll proceed with tonight's broadcast and hope that it remains connected. And tonight we will cover the dignified return of the remains of U.S. service members who lost their lives in Kuwait in that Iranian drone attack. And we'll highlight the story of one man and his death, and why his death in some ways signals, I think, America losing a piece of itself, maybe even signaling the demise of America, maybe the death of America slowly over time. I'll highlight all of that. I'll try to get my thoughts together after all of the chaos here over the last 45 minutes and come back on the other side, if I can get the video to run here, and continue with our broadcast. Stay with me. Lots to unpack.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
The President and First Lady participated in a dignified transfer at Dover Air Force Base in Delaware today for the 6 U.S. service members killed in the March 1st Iranian drone attack in Kuwait. This solemn ritual returns the remains of troops killed in action. It is considered one of the most somber duties of a commander-in-chief. The fallen troops were killed in Kuwait while supporting Operation Epic Fury. All 6 were U.S. Army soldiers assigned to the 103rd Sustainment Command in Des Moines, Iowa, which provides food, fuel, water, ammunition. They transport equipment and supplies. The fallen service members have been identified as Major Jeffrey O'Brien, 45 years old, of Indianapolis. Indianola, Iowa. 35-year-old Captain Cody Cork of Winter Haven, Florida. First Class Sergeant Nicole Amor, 39 years old, of White Bear Lake, Minnesota. Sergeant First Class Noah Teachins, 42 years old, of Bellevue, Nebraska. And Sergeant Declan Cody, 20 years old, of West Des Moines, Iowa. Chief Warrant Officer Robert Marzan, 54 years old, of Sacramento, is also believed deceased. The president on board Air Force One asked about this, addressed it today. Oh. We've got the gaggle. We'll pull down out of that and go to his scrum.
Everybody, it's a very sad day, and glad we paid our respects. It's a tough situation. Great people, great parents, wives, family, and a beautiful ceremony. I guess you got to see that, at least partially. Any questions?
President Trump, did what you just witnessed make you think differently about going ahead with this war, or even putting troops on the ground in the Middle East?
We're winning the war by a lot. We've decimated their whole evil empire. It'll continue, I'm sure, for a little while. But very proud of the people, the parents. The parents were so proud of their boy, as they call him, my boy. In case the young lady. The parents are so proud. Many of them are military parents, as you know. So but it's always a very sad thing. The war itself is going unbelievably. It's as good as it can be. We have Pete here, and you have Steve Witkoff here. We have some additional questions.
You're 1 week in now, sir. You're 1 week in at this point. How long, as of now, do you expect
Well, I think we've accomplished more in 1 week than anyone thought possible. We've wiped out their Navy, 44 ships. We've wiped out their Air Force, every plane. We've wiped out most of their missiles. You see, the missiles aren't coming much anymore. We've also hit their manufacturing areas where they make the missiles very hard. Their drone capacity is way down. And we've hurt them where it hurts. Including about every form of leadership you can have, we've wiped out.
You still expect up to 6 weeks total?
I don't know. I never reject time, whatever it takes. But the military is almost non-existent, if you look. We could hit the military itself very hard, but maybe we will, maybe we won't. We haven't made that determination.
What do you think about gas prices? Gas prices right now? Are you worried about gas prices right now?
No, I'm not. This is a short excursion into something that should have been done for 47 years. 47 years it's taken to do this, and no president had the guts to do it.
And you're worried you're going to end up coming back to Dover for more of these such dignified transfers?
I'm sure I hate to do it, but it's a part of war, isn't it? Who are you with?
The Washington Post.
Would you say it's part of war?
The deaths are part of war,
Yeah, it's part of war. It's a sad part of war. It's the bad part of war.
Mr. President, did the United States bomb a girls' elementary school in southern Iran on the first day of the war and kill 175 people?
In my opinion, based on what I've seen, that was done by Iran.
Is that true, Mr. Hegseth? It was Iran who did that?
We're certainly investigating.
Still
But
investigating?
the only side that targets civilians is Iran.
We think it was done. We think it was done by Iran because they're very inaccurate, as you know, with their munitions. They have no accuracy whatsoever. It was done by Iran.
Can you give us an idea of what unconditional surrender looks like to you? I mean, what do you want from Iran?
I said unconditional, not conditional. I said unconditional. It's where they cry uncle, or when they can't fight any longer and there's nobody around to cry uncle. That could happen too, because we've wiped out their leadership numerous times already. So it's if they surrender, or if there is nobody around to surrender, but they're rendered useless in terms of military.
Mr. President, can I ask you what Peter asked you a question yesterday? He said it wasn't the right time in that event, but he was asking whether you have indications of whether Russia is supporting Iran somehow in this.
No, I haven't had that. I have had no indication of that whatsoever. If they are, they're not doing a very good job, because Iran is not doing too well.
What about the Strait of Hormuz? There's no traffic really going through it.
Well,
right
that's the ship's choices, but we haven't cleaned out. We've wiped out their navy. The navy is now at the bottom of the sea, so that's the choice. This is an excursion. We figured oil prices would go up, which they will. They'll also come down. They'll come down very fast, and we will have gotten rid of a major cancer on the face of the earth. We will have taken out a cancer. Don't forget October 7th. Don't forget all of the things that have happened over the years, all caused by these people. So what we're doing is a great thing, not only for our country and not only for Israel, not only for the Middle East, but for the world.
Secretary Bessent announced some moves to temporarily allow certain Russian oil sales to India. Are you considering any other moves, including the SPR?
Well, if there were some, I would do it just to take a little of the pressure off. But I think that the oil pressure, but there's a lot of oil. We've got a lot of oil. Our country has a tremendous amount, and there's a lot of oil out there. That'll get healed very quickly.
Would you consider using the SPR or tapping into the SPR at some point?
Strategic reserve?
Yeah.
Well, I'm the one that built them up. Biden used them so that he could get some extra votes in the election. It turned out it wasn't even him that ran. It was Kamala. And she obviously didn't get any extra votes because we won in an absolute landslide. So he should have used it for that. He used it I filled it up, and he brought it down to the lowest level it's ever been. We will start at the appropriate time, which is basically a gut instinct. We will start filling up the strategic reserves.
What are the circumstances where you'd send in ground troops? How are you thinking about that?
I don't even want to talk about it now. I mean, I don't think it's an appropriate question. I'm not going to answer it. Could there be? Possibly, for very good reason. Have to be very good reason. And I would say if we ever did that, they would be so decimated that they wouldn't be able to fight at the ground level.
Are you thinking about the oil facility there? There's an oil facility kind of on the coast of Iran that could be secured by ground troops. There's been some speculation that could be a target.
I don't know what the speculation is, but I certainly wouldn't be able to tell you that. I'd be in trouble with myself if I told you that.
Mr. President, don't you need ground troops to secure the enriched uranium at the nuclear sites?
We're going to find out about that. We haven't talked about it, but it was a total obliteration. They haven't been able to get to it. And at some point, maybe we will. That would be a great thing, but right now we're just decimating them. But we haven't gone after it, but something we could do later on. We wouldn't do it now. Maybe we'd do it later.
You said you want to be involved in the selection of the next leader of Iran. Can you talk to me?
Well, because I don't want to just come back every 10 years, and mostly you'll have presidents, that won't do that because they don't get it. But we don't want to come back every 5 years or every 10 years and do this. So we want to pick a president that's not going to be leading their country into a war. Do you have any questions for Pete or Steve? Come on up.
Mr. Wickoff?
Steve, come on up.
Mr. Wickoff, is there still space to do a deal with whatever is left of the Iranian government?
I think there is. I think that's going to be up to the president. That's what I think. But they didn't seem to be very amenable in those first set of negotiations. You heard what I said. They said we have the inalienable right to enrich. They bragged about having 60% enriched fuel, enough for 11 bombs. And they told me and Jared, we're not going to give you diplomatically what you couldn't take militarily. So, I think they're going to need a change of attitude.
What sort of thing do you want to see in a deal? I mean, do you think you have maximum negotiating leverage at this point?
I think the president has proved that we have.
Iran today accused the U.S. of
A lot
hitting.
of negotiating leverage, maybe maximum, but we're not looking to settle. They'd like to settle. We're not looking to settle.
Iran accused
The British government has now offered use of the British government has offered use of some bases now, and you had previously said you were very disappointed in them.
Two aircraft carriers.
I mean, about British bases, they
See
said.
my response that I just put out? I just put out a response. Give me the offer to send 2 aircraft carriers. Maybe, but they're not sure. I just put out a response to it. I said, we don't need them. It's not the right time. It would have been nice to have had them 2 weeks ago, but the response I put out, I think, says it very well for you.
Iran today accused the U.S. of hitting a desalination plant in Iran, and they said that might open the door to other strikes on infrastructure, non-military.
Allow us to also open the door to other strikes against them.
Can you respond to that allegation? Did the U.S. hit a desalination?
They are among the most evil people ever on earth. They cut babies' heads off. They chop women in half. What they did, take a look at October 7th. Take a look at what they've done over the last 47 years. So I know nothing about a desalination plant other than to say if they're complaining about a desalination plant, we complain about the fact that they shouldn't be chopping babies' heads off, okay?
Mr. Wikoff, have you communicated to the Russians not to send targeting information and other assistance to the Iranians?
Strongly said that.
And do you believe that they are?
I hope they're not.
Do you see any evidence?
We don't know, but it's not doing very well. If they are, it's not helping much. If you take a look at what's happened to Iran in the last week, if they're getting information, it's not helping them much.
What would it mean to you if they were? I mean, even if it's not helping the Iranians particularly much, it's still involving themselves in a conflict that they're not directly.
They'd say we do it against them, wouldn't they? Huh? Wouldn't they say that? We do it against them. I don't know. Look, they can give all the information that they want, but the people they're sending it to are overwhelmed. Russia would be overwhelmed too. Anybody would be overwhelmed. We have the greatest military on earth, and I built it in my first term, and unfortunately, I'm forced to use it now. But when you look at what we did with Venezuela, when you look at what we did with the B-2 bombers, that was a very big moment because Iran was going to have a nuclear weapon within 2 or 3 weeks, and that stopped it, and it stopped it cold. And you ask about maybe going back and getting that, something could happen at the right time.
Is Iran running out of missiles and drones, or do you expect those counterattacks to continue with them?
Not only that, manufacturing capability also. We've hit the manufacturing very hard. They're at about 9% of what they sent out in the first 2 days, and we think that's because they don't have that much. We've knocked out about 70% of the launchers. The launchers are a big deal. Very hard to get, very expensive.
I want to talk about leverage. With every passing day, we have more and more leverage because we have more and more capabilities. We're hitting them harder and harder, and they have less of an ability to defend themselves. So we're pressing the offensive every single day, creating all the leverage the president needs for the outcome he wants.
So it sounds like you think they're running out of one or both of the drones and the missiles.
When you look, they're sending in much less drones. They're being decimated. Now, at some point, I don't think there'll be anybody left maybe to say we surrender, but they're being decimated. And when you look also, all of a sudden they apologized to the Middle Eastern states that they shot at them. I was very surprised to see they did that, but you mark that down as a victory for us and for the Middle Eastern states who are really friends of ours. But I guess they're not going to be shooting at them anymore. They apologized, and we'll see what happens. But that's a big loss. That's a surrender right there. I called it a surrender today. When they apologized and said they're not shooting at them anymore, that's really a surrender to those states and to us. Okay, anything else?
Some Iranians are concerned that the Kurds will carve out kind of an autonomous region as they did in Syria and Iraq.
We're not looking to the Kurds going in. We're very friendly with the Kurds, as you know, but we don't want to make the war any more complex than it already is. No.
You've ruled that out?
We don't want, yeah, I have ruled it out. I don't want the Kurds going in. I don't want to see the Kurds get hurt, get killed. We've had a good relation. They're willing to go in, but I've told them I don't want them to go in.
Do you think the map of Iran will look the same?
The war is complicated enough without getting the Kurds involved.
And do you think the map of Iran looks the same after this is all done?
That I can't tell you. Probably not.
Do you know if any shipping companies have taken the U.S. up on its offer of insurance to go through the Strait of Hormuz?
No, we have it set up. We have a great insurance and reinsurance system, but I don't.
Sorry, when you talk about...
When this ends, we're going to have a much safer world, you know that. So, this is a minor excursion, but when this ends, we're going to have a much safer world, and we will have gotten rid of a lot of sick and demented people, the leadership. So we got rid of the one leadership, then we got rid of the second level of leadership. Now they're on their third or fourth level of leadership. And they have leaders right now that nobody even knows who they are. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
All right. Stay with me. We'll be back.
Someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth.
The entire world is watching.
Every dictator, every crazy dictator in the world is watching. The world is watching. On TV, the entire world is watching. On social media.
But the entire world is watching, and yes, they are seeing what we have apparently bravely been willing to say that others are thinking.
Stand for freedom. Literally stand for freedom. Let's get this done. The entire world is watching.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars.
Maverick News. Maverick News. Maverick News.
Let me have more control of my own destiny.
The world is watching.
Hard to know what the truth is. Trump says that Iranian school, where over 170 kids were killed, that Iran did that to their own school. That contradicts the preliminary information that came out over the past week. We'll see where that goes, if anywhere. The fog of war. And it's not being fought just in Iran. We're seeing unrest in the streets too, in both the United States and in Canada. In New York, protests on the street, of course, where some sort of a bomb was thrown at, some say conservative protesters, others call them anti-Muslim protesters. You choose your words, I guess, and your description. Pick your adjectives.
Protester, identified as Amir Balat, an 18-year-old man, lit and threw an ignited device toward the protest area, landing in the crosswalk of East 87th Street and East End Avenue. Witnesses reported seeing flames and smoke as it traveled through the air before it struck a barrier and extinguished itself a few feet from police officers. Mr. Balat then ran southbound on East End Avenue toward 86th Street and gets a second device from a man tentatively ID'd as Ibrahim Nick, 19 years old. Mr. Balat lights the device and starts running with it. He then drops the device on the west side of East End Avenue between East 86th and East 87th Streets. Officers immediately secured the area and they took both men into custody. This was all captured on NYPD Argus camera.
Yeah. But hey, it's going to be a safer world as soon as the bombing ends or whatever. I don't know, man. It's you think this is going to solve everything, right? Okay. More from the streets.
Guys, we don't want you close here. Get up! Get him out of here. Walk back. Meine Donut ist Termite. Berg hier. Berg hier. Wait. You got a car? All right, guys. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Get somebody on the floor. Get somebody on the street. Out of the street. Somebody left their skateboard. Out of the street. Out of the street. Come on, guys, get up. Back it up. Back it up. Back up, guys. Guys, get off the street. Off the street. No, this way. Get out of the pit. Get out of the pit. Get out of the pit.
Okay.
Stop moving. Guys, clear the pit. Clear the.
Also, just to reference back to what the president was talking about, because clip sent to me of someone making reference to the insurance issue and ships going through the Strait of Hormuz, and there was a bit of a conflation going on in the video that I saw, saying, "Oh, it's the beginning of the New World Order because Trump is taking over the insurance." The insurance companies from London, England, and it was just disjointed. Trump being asked about the insurance because it is a big issue. Traffic through the Strait of Hormuz down, I think, about 90% or more because of the threat of those vessels being attacked by the Houthis and or just directly by Iran now. And that, of course, is a huge risk for any shipping company. As a result, a lot of them are not going through the strait because their insurance has made it clear that those vessels might not be covered if they're attacked, and if they're sunk or damaged, the insurance companies therefore might not pay out because they've been told, yeah, you have insurance, but we're not covering that if you get hit by an attack and you lose your vessel and your cargo, oil mostly at this point. So, yeah, there are, I don't know exactly how many insurance companies there are that will insure ships, cargo ships, but internationally, I think there are probably about a dozen, something in that range. Lloyd's of London being the big name in that game. That's a huge, long, a company with a long history that provides specialty insurance for a variety of different reasons. In fact, I personally have purchased Lloyd's of London insurance, so I have some familiarity with the company. I had to, because sorry, the phone going off. I needed it for broadcast errors and emissions insurance, and nobody sells that stuff except a big specialty insurance company like Lloyd's of London. So what is really going on is because the ships don't have insurance, they're not going through the strait. Trump makes reference to a reinsurance program that they've rekindled, and they're ramping that up to provide government-backed insurance in the interim for ships that choose to go through the strait. And they will likely be escorted by the U.S. military when they go through the Strait of Hormuz, and then they'll have U.S. government insurance backed up by the U.S. government. That's in a very basic way. That's what is going to be rolled out, and it's been in the works for, I guess, a number of days to roll that back out. It is not the first time something like that has been done. It doesn't appear to be an effort to take over the international insurance business. It's being done as a backstop for insurance that is in place, and it's not free. The shipping companies will need to pay, but it will be at a rate much lower than that being offered by the existing companies, which have jacked their rates right up through the roof, saying, if you do want to ship through there, we'll cover you, but you have to pay a 1.5, 2 times, maybe 3 times the normal rate to be insured against an attack during a time of war going through the strait. Trump needs that to happen. He needs those ships to go through, because if he doesn't get those ships moving, gas prices are going to skyrocket beyond where they already have. And we've seen one of the biggest price spikes in oil, like percentage wise, in recent memory. During the oil crisis, problems with Iran back in the 70s and 80s, I think it was Reagan that enacted a similar program at the time too. It wasn't exactly what they're doing now, but they also provided U.S. escorts, and there was insurance backing of some kind for the vessels as well. I'd have to look up the history on it, but I remember that happening. It's not the first time it has happened, and as long as there are conflicts in the future, it won't be the last either. But that is a critical shipping route. They need those ships to navigate. What this is actually doing is it's highlighting one of the unintended consequences of initiating this military action. It is affecting oil supplies. It's affecting shipping routes, and I'm sure that they've planned for some contingencies this way, because they have this plan laid out and ready to roll it out. So we'll see what happens. The thing is, if they don't get those ships moving, we're going to have a serious problem at the pumps. The oil has to keep on moving. Otherwise, the price is going to jack right up. It doesn't look to me like they're fully prepared for this. But time will tell. A lot of things. It's really hard to know where this is going. Trump is saying, "Oh, don't worry, the price will come down." Yeah, eventually, but when and how high will it go before it comes down? It depends on supply and demand. Also, he's saying that, like, the numbers he's giving, I don't believe a word coming out of his mouth, because all the information, even government figures themselves, government stats on how much, how much the Iranian weapon stockpile has been diminished. It looks like it's not nearly as bad for Iran as the president is reporting. Some sort of a report was released from the U.S. government to the Trump administration, to the president himself, which indicates, and I was reading about this afternoon, saying that it looks like Iran still has about 50% or a little bit more of all their missiles stockpiled. They still have a lot there that they can fire. So, of course, Trump is going to put the best spin on it that he can, because he needs the public support behind what he is doing. But as we've seen, whether it's unemployment numbers, the inflation figures, whatever it is, the numbers, he just seems to make stuff up. So he's saying that Iran is down to like 9% of its munitions stockpile, missiles, and that they've hammered the manufacturing facilities and blah, 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 blah. I don't believe it. I just don't believe it. They've talked about air domination, air superiority, but I still see the missiles flying. And I see that happening on both sides. So yeah, I think that Iran is being hammered really hard too. But of course, how can we really know, right? Because we're all sitting here taking in information from various sides, looking at videos online. How much of it is real? How much of it is exaggerated? How much of it is outright fake? How much of it is AI? But this looks very real, appears to be authentic. These are flames consuming an oil depot in Tehran, this apparently within the last hour or two. So the U.S. continues to hammer Iran, and it's not looking good over there for sure. Going after the oil, see? But it isn't so much the oil supply being disrupted coming out of Iran that is the major issue. The real issue is the Strait of Hormuz and shipping, because Iran itself, as it stands, has only been supplying, again, as I understand it, only about 3 to 5% of the world oil supply. Here's an Iranian missile stuck in Tel Aviv, or striking Tel Aviv, rather. And this was on a live broadcast. I believe this was on NBC.
And the Israelis, I think that's what the calculation now is. Regime preservation. Could you get a more pragmatic figure presiding over this regime? Sure.
Aaron, I just want to break in for a moment, because we're looking at live pictures in the air over Tel Aviv, and obviously, as many people know or maybe don't know, there is an Iron Dome that Israel uses as its missile defense system, and we're seeing it working now. But in some places and instances, it does not work, and I believe this is one missile feasibly that has broken through the Iron Dome.
And the Israeli.
So you're getting a lot of lies coming out of Iran. You're getting lies. I think we're getting a lot of lies just all the way around. The truth is, I don't know, somewhere in the middle. Maybe. But this, again, looks like it's probably authentic. And I would just caution anybody, anything you're picking up on the internet and on Twitter, X, take it with a grain of salt. Verify, and then verify some more, I guess. However, but that doesn't look good for Iran at all. Yeah. Oh, and here's a yeah, there's probably some truth in this piece of creativity, I guess. Coming soon, it says. Yeah. Rising gas prices, and we're already seeing those right here in Canada. All right, we're going to take a little break. Come back, we have more on the other side of this.
Brightleaf Innovations is excited to offer our newest investment opportunity, the Turn Easy Bed Storage Solution.
Turns with a touch, spins all the way around. Every little thing you need is easy to be found. No more clutter, no more mess on the floor. Just spin it, reach it, you don't search anymore. charge. Smart design that makes your bedroom feel large. Turn easy bed, spin your world around. Storage made simple, the best you found. Shelves your way, keep the mess away. Charge it, store it, night or day. Designed and developed by Brightleaf Innovations. Proudly Canadian and patent pending in North America. Turn Easy Bed transforms how you live.
To learn more about this innovative new product idea and exciting investment opportunity, call 519-784-0222 or visit brightleafinnovations.com.
Oh, yeah, protests in Canada today, too. This one is in Montreal. Here we go. Hang on, I gotta get rid of the music because they're all dancing to YMCA. The Trump anthem, got to get rid of that though, or we're gonna get a copyright strike, but that gives you a little taste of it. So that looks relatively peaceful, at least for the moment. Those people, of course, happy about what's going on over there in Iran. So those are the pro-Trumpers. And we're also seeing, though, I guess there was some sort of protester who was masked and chanting Allah Akbar in Toronto. Different tone there tonight. Or earlier today. Let me bring this up. Here we go. And
Stop bombing Myanmar! Stop bombing Myanmar! Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! Ya Baja Kharimi!
are you angry yet? Upset? Triggered? Lots of material out there for that tonight. Just also on the Canadian front, just to alert everybody, Highway 11 is closed still following a really serious 5-vehicle crash. Ontario Provincial Police said one person was killed, another seriously injured in this serious crash early this morning near Smooth Rock Falls. Roadway remains closed between Cochrane and Hearst as emergency responders and provincial police units investigate the scene. It was around 5:30 a.m. and when this happened, and it's still, as of this hour, as far as I know, from the information we have here, the most current information is the highway still remains closed. So for anyone traveling up in that area, area of Ontario, just making you aware. So back to the situation with the Iranian war. Iran seems to be in some ways stepping back a little bit. Iran's president says the country is no longer going to attack neighboring countries or launch missiles unless an attack on Iran originates from those countries. But the president of Iran is rejecting calls from Donald Trump for unconditional surrender. Trump today vowing there will be more strikes, as you just heard in that gaggle on Air Force One. He says today Iran will be hit very hard, as he said, and that seems to be what is happening. And over here on NBC, just further reference to that strike on the school, or the whatever that was some sort of explosion, missile strike of some kind, or who knows. Here it is here. I'm just going to show you on NBC to highlight what I was saying about this earlier. School strike investigation. It looks increasingly, according to this, like increasingly likely that a U.S. munition was responsible for a strike on a school in Iran. A U.S. official and another person familiar with the preliminary findings of the U.S. investigation said more than 160, maybe 170 or more, including children, died in that strike. So I'm not making it up, but Trump might be. Information control and spin is one of the tools of war. And Trump, I don't think he's going to lie if it serves his purpose, serves his agenda, serves his objective. And we're seeing as well in Iran that the clerics choosing the new figurehead after the death of the supreme leader, the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, or Khamenei. They were making plans to introduce the future leader, according to state media. And Trump has that Iran should have a good leader and that he has some names in mind. And he says that the United States will have some influence over who the next leader will be. That remains to be seen, I guess. Totally different story coming out of Iran. You can pick the side you choose to believe, or something in between. Thousands of Americans still remain stranded in the Middle East tonight as this conflict continues and in some ways escalates, although it looks like maybe Iran's stepping back a bit. Iran just, it looked like they were just like attacking all the countries around. And then Iran came out with a statement after those attacks were witnessed and said that what they were doing was attacking U.S. bases in those surrounding countries. Either way, it was a sign of escalation, and now they're, I guess, backing away from that strategy and saying only if attacks are launched from those countries will they then attack the surrounding countries. We just know that hundreds of people have been killed now across the Middle East. In Iran, at least 940. I'm seeing reports even higher than that, into 1,400 range. Who knows? We need time to really assess in an accurate way, but reports tonight coming in around 1,000 people having been killed by Israeli and American strikes there. Iranian state media reporting those numbers, but I'm seeing much higher numbers on the other side of the equation, the spin coming out of the White House. And 11 have died in Israel as Iran fired back following the attacks from Israel and the United States. In Lebanon, reported 217 people have been killed by Israeli strikes there. And then also over on, I'm going to show you this over on NBC again, because they are reporting what the president said now on Air Force One. Right there. Says Trump says it was Iran that bombed elementary school, contradicting early analysis. Trump told reporters today that the U.S. is not responsible for the bombing that destroyed an elementary school in southern Iran that left at least 168 dead, it says here. That's the number they're using now. The president's comments contradict preliminary findings that a U.S. munition may have been involved in the strike, sources have told NBC News. Did the United States bomb a girls' elementary school in southern Iran on the first day of the war and kill 175 people? A reporter asked Trump during a press gaggle on Air Force One, which I just brought to you. Based on what I've seen, that was done by Iran, as you also heard the president respond. And Hegseth backing up the president. Airstrikes hit an elementary school in the town of Minab on the first day that the U.S. and Israel began strikes in the country. In fact, David Wiley was on the program. We made reference to it. We were talking about that. And David pointed out that that school located adjacent to a military asset, which he said is no accident. That was his view on it. And again, you can, I guess, believe what you want to believe, assess as you will. That is the information tonight. I just know that the oil depots in Iran hit hard by airstrikes today. They're going after the oil supply there. Cut off the money. And Netanyahu is saying Israel has a lot more targets in Iran that they want to hit. He's signaling that Israel's campaign is far from over. He's warning that additional strikes are coming, aimed at destabilizing Iran's leadership. Trump's saying they've gone through the first two layers, and that is the way that system is set up in Iran. They have a multi-layered system so that they have a secession plan in order. Even if their entire leadership is wiped out, they've got a whole other layer of leadership to come in. It's not like most other countries in that regard. Netanyahu saying, quote, "We have an organized plan with many surprises to destabilize the regime and enable change." Netanyahu made that statement during a televised address earlier. It says Israel has many more targets in Iran, and he says that Israel is going to continue with full force. And all this happening while tourists and others who work abroad, work in the Middle East, are making efforts to get home, and airlines being booked, and Foreign Affairs Canada still working to get Canadians back home. And the protests on the home front continue. Here's the provincial police notification on that Highway 11 crash in Ontario, just to bring us back to Canada. Southbound lanes of Highway 115, no, this is a different one, between Porter Road and Boundary Road are currently shut down as a result of an earlier multi-vehicle collision at approximately 8:50 a.m. OPP Central Region. Fog conditions up there, and that is the thing, right? So that's another big crash there, serious one. With fog conditions continuing, ensure that your full headlights are on, slow down, and allow for additional space between vehicles. Drive safe. And here it is. Here's an update. Highway 115 is reopened. And that is actually a little bit older, but that's what popped up in my feed, so I'm just sharing it with you. The thing is, the weather has turned much warmer in many places. Today, it was like really warm, and that's why you're getting the fog in a lot of those places, because it's melting the snow. A lot of moisture in the air, and it's just perfect conditions for that while you're out driving. So if you're going to go out tonight, especially on the highways, or early in the mornings especially, be extremely careful, and yes, keep your headlights on. Be very aware. Man, I'll tell you, here where I'm living, it had to be close to 50 degrees Fahrenheit when I went outside today. Just unbelievably warm, but overcast, wet, moist. It's been raining off and on all day. Snow, mostly all gone here. I don't really see any snow left. It's all melted away rapidly, and that's what's putting the moisture in there. Now, you're going to go a little further east from here, and you're going to get, of course, cooler temperatures, and the further north you go, you're still going to have snow, but warm front has moved in, and that creates its own advantages and disadvantages. But spring is on its way, so I guess that's the good news for all of us, right? Yeah. Okay, another little break. Going to come back and continue on the other side of this.
Maverick News isn't just a news outlet, it's a community of truth seekers. Your donation at freedomreporters.com fuels our mission to report the stories that mainstream media won't touch. Thank you, Maverick family.
We are back. Oh, hang on a second. Okay. Yeah, some Canadians making their way back from the Middle East tonight. This is unusual. This is an unusual headline. I'm just going to share this with you too, if I can get it to pop up. Here we go. Iran's president apologizes for strikes as missiles and drones pound cities. Show you this. Global News. This is obviously not just their own report. It's a wire service report from Associated Press. But I'll show you the Global News headline version of it. Oops, wrong one. There it is. Iran's president apologizes for strikes. Iran's president apologized Saturday for attacks on regional countries, even as its missiles and drones flew toward Gulf Arab states, indicating that Tehran's political leadership could not exercise full command over Iran's armed forces. He also rejected U.S. President Donald Trump's repeated demands for surrender. So we touched on this. It's just a different way of kind of reporting or highlighting the one thing that the Iranian leader said. The message, seemingly filmed in a hurry without professional broadcast equipment, again underlined the limited powers being exercised by the theocracy's leaders over its Parliamentary Revolutionary Guard, which controls the ballistic missiles targeting Israel and others. It answered only to Khamenei and now appears to be picking its own targets as the conflict widens. Shortly after the president's message, Trump warned in a social media post Saturday that more Iranian officials would become targets in the war, writing, "Today, Iran will be hit very hard. We told you about that." Let's go to Truth Social and do our Truth Social scroll. And we shall see exactly what the president has been posting online tonight. Let's bring us up to date. The Truth Social way. Iran, he says, which is being beat to hell, all caps, has apologized and surrendered to its Middle East neighbors. We just saw that. And promised that it will not shoot at them anymore. The promise was only made because of the relentless U.S. and Israeli attack. They were looking to take over and rule the Middle East. It is the first time that Iran has ever lost in thousands of years to surrounding Middle Eastern countries. They have said, "Thank you, President Trump." I have said, "You're welcome." Iran is no longer the bully of the Middle East. They are instead the loser of the Middle East. Okay. The language is just Priceless. And we will be for many decades until they surrender or more likely completely collapse. Today, Iran will be hit very, very hard under serious consideration for complete destruction and certain death because of Iran's bad behavior are areas and groups of people that were not considered for targeting up until this moment in time. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Let's go over here. This is something that is maybe something that should concern all of us. Look at the tone and the language and the division here, the way he's talking about the United Kingdom tonight. The United Kingdom, once our great ally, maybe the greatest of them all, is finally giving serious thought to sending 2 aircraft carriers to the Middle East. That's okay, Prime Minister Starmer. We don't need them any longer. But we will remember, we don't need people that join wars after we've already won. President Donald J. Trump. Deep division there. Well, you can assess that in various ways too, right? You can be of 2 completely conflicting views on who's right, who's wrong, why that's happened.
For 47 years, the Iranian regime has regularly targeted and killed Americans. And while Democrats talk tough on Iran, they sought no action. In 2008, before becoming Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton said she would attack Iran if president.
If Iran were to launch a nuclear attack on Israel, what would our response be? And I want the Iranians to know that if I'm the president, we will attack Iran. Whatever stage of development they might be in their nuclear weapons program in the next 10 years, during which they might foolishly consider launching an attack on Israel, we would be able to totally obliterate them.
Of course, that never happened. She lost the nomination to Barack Obama, who instead sought to make a deal with Iran.
Over the years, Iran moved closer and closer to having the ability to build a nuclear weapon. As president, I decided that a strong, confident America could advance our national security by engaging directly with the Iranian government.
But a week after Obama said that, John Kerry admitted that the Iran nuclear deal would give money to terrorists.
Do you believe that any of that $55 billion ends up in the hands of terrorists?
I think that some of it will end up in the hands of the IRGC or of other entities, some of which are labeled terrorist.
Well, fast forward to 2022, and President Biden's press secretary said Iran was accelerating its nuclear program.
Iran has rapidly accelerated its nuclear program and reduced cooperation with international inspectors in non-performance of Iran nuclear deal commitments. Their breakout period is down from about a year, which is what we knew it was during the deal, to just a few weeks or less.
But all Biden said was don't, and a couple months later, Obama admitted he made mistakes with Iran by not helping activists on the ground more.
And in retrospect, I think that was a mistake. Every time we see a flash, a glimmer of hope, of people longing for freedom, I think we have to point it out. We have to shine a spotlight on it. We have to express some solidarity about it.
Well, now today, it's President Trump who sought action while Iran is trying to talk tough.
Are you afraid of a U.S. invasion in your country?
No, we are waiting for them.
You are waiting for the U.S. military to invade, the ground troops?
Yes, because we are confident that we can confront them, and that would be a big disaster for them.
And maybe he missed President Trump taking out the Ayatollah along with 49 others before taking out those counting votes for the next Ayatollah.
I don't know. I just know what I've seen in history. And there's a whole lot of chest thumping going on. I don't know what the truth is, but time will tell. I fear the impact from whatever action we're getting, we're going to get some sort of a reaction that may be equal, might not be, certainly opposite, and maybe here on home soil. It's a war. They rarely work out the way that were promised in the beginning, right? This thing in New York. This is being described by some as maybe a well. This post, you saw some of this earlier. It's being described as an assassination attempt on New York's mayor, Zohran Mamdani. NYPD identifies 2 suspects after an attempted bomb attack outside his residence. I'm going to run this, and then I'm going to fact check this. Here we go. Guy was arrested, right? This is just a different angle. We saw that earlier. So, is that an accurate way to frame the story? Let me take a break. Gonna take a little break. Gonna come back on the other side, and we'll see what we get in between. Hang on.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, so just trying to put this in a more accurate or inside a frame that gives you a broader perspective to understand what really happened there. I'm going to bring up this Google search to see what the latest headlines are saying about that incident in New York. And look at the headlines and the stories and the information coming from the authorities. So, suspicious devices found near NYC Mayor Mamdani's residence. That was an hour ago. Who are Amir Balat and Ibrahim Nick? First picks of suspects in Mamdani home. That's the Hindustan Times. So they're going to have their own little slant on it. And I've got this other story here that seems to be related about Mamdani's wife. Chaos erupts at anti-Islam rally outside Zohran Mamdani's house. And this is Yahoo News. And HuffPost. 2 people taken into custody after suspicious devices found outside Zohran Mamdani's Gracie Mansion residence during an anti-Islam rally held by pardoned J6 insurrectionist Jake Lang. The New York City Police Department told HuffPost in an email that authorities were alerted to 2 suspicious devices at the location. There's a close-up on the device, which some reports say was filled with nuts and bolts and things like that. The NYPD did not state whether devices came from those participating in the anti-Islam rally or from counter-protesters. It's unclear if Mamdani or his wife, Rama Dowaji were at home at the time. However, police said no injuries or property damage had been reported. 2 persons of interest taken into custody. So, assassination attempt might be a stretch. Incident occurred during an anti-Islam rally. Lang told his followers on social media that he just survived an assassination attempt by 2 Muslim men. So that's I guess that means it's an assassination the other way. The homemade bomb they threw landed 3 feet in front of me, Lang posted. The detonator failed to ignite because God is on the throne of my life. We will never surrender to Islam. The rally held during Ramadan featured Lang hosting a pig roast. So I'm seeing accusations of an attempt to assassinate Mamdani, or is this guy, the anti-Islam protester, he's saying he was targeted for assassination? Who the hell knows what's going on? Lang has attended multiple rallies following his pardon by President Donald Trump in January. He said that he was stabbed by a counter-protester at a pro-ICE rally in Minneapolis, but shielded from injury by a protective vest. Minneapolis police said at the time that no report had been filed. I see. I understand. Do you see? Are you getting it? Are you picking up on what's been laid down and all that information? I'm going to go to the chat and just see if anybody has any comment on that. So everybody's trying to assassinate everybody else with the same homemade improvised bomb thing with the nuts and bolts inside, which if something like that explodes, that can do incredible damage. That's like built-in shrapnel everywhere, man. That's terrible if that had injured anybody. I'm afraid to read some of these comments in the chat tonight. Oh my. Okay. Speaking of, what was it he was referring to there in that report? Scroll down. I need to find, what was that? Yeah, pro-ICE rally. Yeah, he was staging a pro-ICE rally in Minneapolis. So speaking of ICE and immigration and all of that, that gets me to this story, which, there's been so much happening. It's impossible, even if I sit here for 3 hours a night, to get to all of these stories. And how shall I begin this tonight? Sometimes I take side roads. Maybe I'll do that. I'm gonna share something from my past. As a general assignment reporter working in television for years and years, of course, you're exposed to all kinds of things. I talked about traffic accidents tonight. They bother me because I've seen so much bent metal, but more to the point, so many dead bodies over the years. Because just like a firefighter or an EMS, first responder, police, you see a lot of tragedy when you're out there shooting accidents on the highway. The highway here along this stretch of the 401, for a long time, it was called a Carnage Alley. A lot of bent metal out there. And a lot of murders I've covered, and a lot of, just terrible things. And, you see it and you're there. In fact, the first assignment I ever had in television, very first assignment, was to go out, first day on the job, sent out to a fatal accident in Kitchener. Camaro T-top. Nothing left of the car. Forgive me if I'm being too graphic. A lot of blood on the windshield. I'll just leave it there when I got there. Very first assignment ever. So I've seen a lot of that kind of stuff over the years. One day, I especially in those days, I still do this. Through the night, I will leave news programming running. In the mornings in particular, I will wake up and I would make sure that I still do this. I check to see what the latest news is, and I listen. And in those days, of course, I listened always to local radio newscasts. Newscast comes on. I'm laying in bed, just woke up. There was a story about a young girl, 3rd grade, as I recall. Wasn't local. It was a wire story. And the announcer, local radio station, just was ripping and reading from the wire service. The girl had been going to school every day. And the teacher, as I recall, began to notice that there was something wrong, that the girl was coming to school every day, that her clothes the same, disheveled, hungry, upset. Teacher couldn't figure it out. What had been going on is she lived with her mom. Just her mom, single parent. And her mom had died. And I'm sorry that you might not want to listen to this, but it was on the radio, Newswire. And the radio, the announcer is just reading this story like it's just another story, no big deal, just reading the copy, ripping and reading. I could tell it was just straight off the wire service, not even rewritten, just straight up raw wire copy. Not a second thought. The girl's mom had died, this young child, and she didn't know what to do. The mom had passed away and was the child was going home every day after school and didn't know what to do. Her mom had passed away and was still in the home. This went on for like a week. To school, back home, to school, back home. And finally they figured out what was going on. And that story stuck with me. That morning, I can only just tell you that all of the emotion that I'd been bottling up inside because of everything I had been witnessing, all the accidents, the murders, the violence, because I was, a general assignment reporter at the time, and everything, fires, and I can tell you a lot of stories. But you have to maintain your composure always when you're out there working, right? So you have to just maintain control. yourself. But not that morning, because I wasn't ready. I wasn't prepared for it. And it was just the insensitivity of the way it was read by the announcer. Like it was just another story. And it was just a throwaway story. Rip, read, fill the time, chuck the wire copy off to the side when you're done, go to commercial. It really bothered me that day. I didn't go to work. Still remember. And you know, all these stories like the war. This week, I didn't, I've been covering the war. Everybody wants to know what's going on with the war. So every day I've been getting up and I've been bringing you all the lies that everybody has been telling you about the war and all the politics and all the lies about that. So I'm sharing all the lies with you, and somewhere in there, there's maybe some truth, but let's face it, they're all spinning it. So I'm here bringing you the lies of the new or the old world order, whatever order you want to think it is, every night. And then I'm coming across stories like we didn't even have time to get to the murder of this social media influencer who's only like an hour away from me. It would took 2 days just to even get to that. We did a bit of a story on it last night. We'll be doing more. And then there was this other story. A story that really bothered me when I heard about it. Story of injustice, a story that, in a way, I teed up about a month ago, talking about the genocide in Myanmar, a country that has different names, Rohingya, pick your name. It's a story out of Buffalo, New York. About a man, you know, last night, Joseph Leonard talking about, we talked about the 30,000 people in Iran, reportedly, who knows what the real numbers are, that were killed by the Iranian regime government because of rising up against their government. 30,000. It's a statistic. It's just a number. See, we had this conversation. I could tell just washing over Joseph, probably just washed over most of you, because that's what goes on in this world. You get a big number like that, it's impersonal. It's just a number. Well, we got to sacrifice all those people, or the next thing you know, we've got a mushroom cloud. We need to change the regime. Small price to pay. 30,000 people, 30,000 human beings killed. It's just a number, man. Not a tear shed last night. But then there's this story about a man, a single man, who died alone in the snow and ice in Buffalo, New York. It happened late last month. His name was Nurul Amin Shah Alam, 56 years old. Let me see if I can find you a picture. Right here. This had an impact on me for whatever reason. Maybe just because it's the story of one man. Put the politics aside as much as we can as I share this with you tonight. Nearly blind. I mean, pretty much like blind. Spoke no English, had come to the United States as a legal refugee seeking the very promise that America has always extended to the persecuted: safety, dignity, and a chance at freedom, which was not really defined last night either. A word that so many use. Instead, this man was abandoned by the very system meant to protect him. With his death, another piece of America died, I think. That's why tonight's headline is Death of America. We see people in the streets chanting death to America. But in some ways, I think we are witnessing the death of America a little bit at a time right now. And while the president is saying we're going to have a much safer world as soon as this military action is completed, somehow I just have my doubts. Because again, with the death of this one man, I think another piece of America died. The part that once believed that we are all better than all of this, that our streets are not where dreams go to freeze. Shah Alam was a Rohingya Muslim from Myanmar, a survivor of one of the 21st century's clearest genocides. The military's 2017 crackdown in Rakhine state, burning villages, mass rapes, mass killings, drove hundreds of thousands into exile. I talked about this about a month ago because of Facebook, the algorithm, which got out of control. Facebook actually played something of a tragic dual role in the horror of this story. And this is why we must all be so cautious and careful about what we believe online, what the president says, whether we just take that verbatim and just accept it as truth. What are you seeing on my program? Is it all truth? Hardly, because all these people are, in one way or another, to some degree or another, lying, because we're in the fog of war. And social media is a tool that they use to amplify and focus their messaging, to screw with our heads. Facebook, again, playing a tragic dual role in this. On one hand, in Myanmar, the platform eventually helped to expose the scale of the atrocities there. Videos of the burned villages, eyewitness accounts, raw footage spread all around the world. It sparked outrage, UN investigations, pressure for refugee resettlement, which is where our man comes into the picture, Shah Alam. Now, on the other hand, and this is an accusation that I highlighted about a month ago, and it has now been substantiated. It was substantiated then, which is why I was bringing it up. But it's been substantiated through multiple independent inquiries, Facebook was part of the problem from the start. A US-based social media tech giant. As documented by the United Nations fact-finding mission in 2018 and a comprehensive 2022 Amnesty International report, the platform's algorithms proactively amplified hateful videos, racist propaganda, military disinformation, and dehumanizing content, calling Rohingya dogs, maggots, and worse. Military sock puppet accounts flooded the platform with incitement. The very same technology that later broadcast evidence of the genocide had earlier poured fuel on the fire of the long-standing hatred, radicalizing populations and helping create the enabling environment for mass violence. And that digital amplification of both the war crimes and the calls for more of them helped drive Shah Alam from his homeland and ultimately open the asylum pathways that brought him to Buffalo, New York. A victim of Facebook, a victim of a giant American-based tech giant that didn't have the proper staffing or staffing properly trained or the proper systems in place to control their own algorithm, which amplified and focused hateful propaganda that fueled a genocide. I have to tell you, I've heard some of our own politicians, well, not all of them, but a couple, and some other people online who are influential, using words like maggots. I've been hearing it the last few years from time to time. Or the word parasites. Very dehumanizing language. That is the intent when you hear words like that. Dehumanize a group of people so you can point your finger at them, blame them, get rid of them. Shah Alam arrived in Buffalo December 24th, 2024, with his wife, Fatima Abdul Rashid, and two of their sons. Three other sons remained behind in Malaysia, where he had spent years in construction, separated from his family for over a decade, saving every dollar to give them a future. He did not read. He could not write. He could not use electronic devices. Nearly blind, one eye completely gone, the other offering only very blurry vision for a few feet in front of him. He had severe knee problems because of decades of hard labor. A disabled man working in construction. Last night we heard language about equal opportunity. I subscribe to that. I believe in freedom. But you better define it if you really believe in it. Before you start bombing people to democracy. Right before the midterms. He carried a simple dream. Buffalo, United States, was a place where he thought his nightmare would end. It was a an organization that helped him resettle to the United States. That helped refugees initiate asylum claims. He was fleeing the genocide. His wife said that, quote, he was everything to me. She said he loved me all his life, always took the responsibility of the whole family. They came to the United States, but it was a dream that lasted only about 2 months. They were cooped up in a little house or home of some kind. The whole family. It was cold, very cold. Cooped up in this west side apartment of Buffalo. Shah Alam decided cooped up too long. So he went for a walk. And while he was out walking, he bought a $20 curtain rod to use as a cane. Feel around as he was walking, I guess. At least that's the story that his lawyers and his family tell. And the weather turned, got bad. He got lost, and he wandered into a backyard on Tonawanda Street. Startled a dog. I guess the dog got out. He went into somebody's backyard. Maybe shouldn't have been there. Probably, definitely shouldn't have been there. Why was he there? He's blind. Damaged a shed door. I guess the person who lived in the home called police. And then body camera footage captured what happened next. I've got the footage. Share it with you here. Let me get it queued up. Right here. So there's the curtain rods. So hit him with tasers. Keep in mind, okay, that he can't see. He doesn't speak English, speaks only a few words of English. Let's deal with him. And they taser him. And because he was so scared, he did bite one of the officers. But he can't see who they are, can't really figure out because they're too far away, I guess. And at least this is the information that has been shared. So as a result of that, he spent the next year in the Erie County Holding Center. His family feared bailing him out would trigger an ICE transfer out of state. Could potentially end up in the ICE system and end up being disappeared and maybe even shipped off to a prison in a country that he had no familiarity with, to be lost maybe forever. So in February of 2026, the prosecutors in the case, because he was charged with a number of offenses related to his arrest there by local police there, because he bit the officer, and so he had a problem. And there was also an allegation from police that they smelled alcohol on his breath. So that's possible too, extenuating circumstances, right? But nevertheless, a disabled man, basically blind, can't speak English, doesn't understand what's going on, tasered, frightened, bites an officer, that's an assault, ends up in jail. So the prosecutors, seeing what was going on, offered a plea deal. Plead out guilty to trespassing and misdemeanor weapon possession. The district attorney explicitly considered his medical condition, time served, the risk of deportation. And his immigration lawyer confirmed the offenses did not make him removable. And so bail was posted February 19th. And then things went catastrophically wrong. So I think the prosecutor, doing him a favor, could have been much worse on the legal side at that point, but then he gets out of jail. But instead of releasing Shah Alam to his family, they didn't notify his family. The Erie County Sheriff handed him over to Border Patrol on an outdated immigration detainer. Now, agents realized he was a legal refugee who could not be deported. Here, I've got this, okay? So there's documentation of this, and then they put this. So this is confirmation that it says, correction, ICE has a detainer out for the MP. The person is not in ICE custody, case reopened. So they thought he had been taken into ICE custody, but he hadn't been. Communication problem. Did I show you that on the screen? I think I maybe missed that. Right there. Those are the documents. And so they didn't know what to do with him. So they never called his family. They didn't notify them. They didn't just take him home. Instead of releasing him to his family, they drove him 5 miles from his Broadway and Fillmore home, and dropped him at this Tim Hortons. Problem is, the place was closed. Shah Alam was wearing only county-issued jail booties, no shoes, and he was pacing around the lot in the freezing cold. And then he pulled up his hood and walked off into the night. He was never seen alive again. Five days later, a passerby found his body on Perry Street, about 4 to 6 miles from the drop-off point. Temperatures had hovered near or below freezing. Light snow, ice covered the ground. The preliminary finding was health-related with exposure and homicide initially ruled out. The full medical examiner's report remains pending. His family laid him to rest February 26th. Mourners tossed soil onto the grave while friends and family demanded justice. His wife and sons spoke publicly for the first time. Friends, family, describing the man who carried his family through every hardship in spite of his disability. I have this from family, friends speaking to this. Just share it with you.
This is actually sad. Like, they had all the paperwork. They paid the bond. They were waiting for the Nurul Amin. He's going to come out. They're going to pick him up, go home, do the break fast. And all of a sudden, like, they don't even know. They had to break their fast inside the car. But in the meantime, CBP came to pick him up and to figure out what's going on. Is he illegal? Are you taken to the holding center? But they don't know what happens.
How in a place like the United States of America, how does something like that happen here? Like, we don't feel safe at all. The family does not feel safe. And here, especially in the city of Buffalo, we're supposed to be in the city of good neighbors. If our system is failing us, how can we trust our neighbors to be good to us? It's not okay. It's totally not okay.
Yeah, I mean, he's not an illegal immigrant, right? So they just courtesy ride, they called it. A courtesy ride. Dumped him at a donut shop, but it wasn't open. The mayor, New York, addressing this.
What I do know is Border Patrol did not take him back to the holding center. If they had taken him back to the holding center, the desk sergeant could have reviewed his visitor log and showed that his son was a regular visitor. Here's his phone number. And they could have showed that his immigration lawyer was an active visitor, and here's his phone number. So there would have been ways to contact the family so you didn't leave somebody out in the cold. And you know what they did? They dropped him at a closed coffee shop. He didn't have shoes on. He had orange booties issued from the holding center. That's bad policing, but it's also bad human beings. That is an inhumane thing to do. Doesn't speak English. He's obviously has a disability, so there's no way for him to convey to the border officers, what he wanted to do. So they let him out of the car.
Who needs to investigate this matter, and who needs to be held accountable?
Who needs to investigate this matter is the federal government and Border Patrol. But they already put out a statement last night full of conclusions of what their officers and what their department did, but they did it without an investigation. What I do know is Border Patrol did not take him back to the holding center. If they had taken him back to the holding center, the desk sergeant could have reviewed his visitor log and showed.
It's bad policing. Mayor went on to say that's why Buffalo police have been told not to cooperate with ICE on these files. And a lot of politics swirling around all of this, right? The mayor's a politician. He's got his view. Other people like support ICE no matter what. But it's true when he's saying that, statements being made before there's even an investigation. We've seen that. Kristi Noem coming out and just talking about U.S. citizens like domestic terrorists because they were protesting and they ended up being shot and killed. And this. A man who opportunity. What opportunities does someone like Shah Alam have in life? Depends on where you're born. Depends on what kind of family you're born into. All of these factors. Not to say that there isn't, lots of opportunity in America and Canada. This guy wasn't born in America. Was a victim of Facebook. First up, victim of a genocide, survived it, fled. Somehow his family got out of there, ends up in America. The shining city on a hill. New York's Attorney General, Letitia James, is conducting an independent assessment and investigation, gathering facts on state and local involvement, canvassing for witnesses, reviewing surveillance footage, politicians getting involved. Of course, they're going to use this for political purposes. That's what happens in America. But there's some truth in there too. You have community rallies going on, community support for the family. And this was not just an isolated bureaucratic error. It was the foreseeable consequence, really, of treating vulnerable human beings, especially disabled refugee who's already survived hell, as disposable. Courtesy ride. I know what that means. Think about the Freedom Convoy, right? And the people being taken by police and then dropped off how far away in the cold? At places where there was, you remember the testimony at the Public Order Emergency Commission inquiry? And the testimony from some of the people who have been dropped off, no phone available in the cold, no transportation. I know how it works. Not just in Ottawa, Buffalo, you name it, pick your city, it doesn't matter. Shah Alam fell through every crack. Language barriers ignored, disabilities unseen. Those Border Patrol, Border Services agents, they're not trained to deal with that stuff in a proper manner. That's not what it's about. Can't understand somebody, just put the cuffs on them, I guess. Family and counsel, uncontacted, basic humanity discarded. The same platform that helped document the genocide, Facebook, that forced him here, it also helped fuel it. He came seeking the America that once welcomed the huddled masses, and he found an America that left him to die in the snow. The America that prides itself on being a beacon dies a little when we abandon the blind man who fled a genocide partly supercharged by unchecked algorithms. The America that claims liberty and justice for all dies a little when federal agents prioritize convenience over a phone call home. The American dream dies a little when a survivor of Myanmar's killing fields freezes on a Buffalo sidewalk because no one in the system could be bothered to treat him as fully human. A man who, even before coming to America, was viewed as a maggot by other humans who wanted to kill him and his family and everyone like him in a genocide. You want to look away? You think it's just political? Strip the politics away. He was a man. Investigations must be thorough, transparent, and swift. I doubt we will get that. Policies must change. Mandatory coordination with families and lawyers for vulnerable releases, disability accommodations in immigration custody and transport, an end to the casual cruelty of drop-offs and sub-zero nights. But more than policy, this demands a reckoning with who we are. Because I see people up here saying, we have to have ICE up here. We need that up here in Canada. I see it. I hear it. I understand it. Better be careful. For we are staring into the abyss. Nurul Amin Shah Alam came to America with nothing but hope and a curtain rod for a cane. But it's not our responsibility, Rick. It's not our problem. Yeah, it is. He was a victim of an algorithm. from America, from the West, a creation, maybe an abomination by a technocracy. I think America owed him more than abandonment. Oh, he wasn't the creme de la creme, and he couldn't afford, what was it, $1 million for one of those gold cards for instant citizenship. Didn't have that opportunity, but he did get to America. Until we deliver justice for him, and I say we, I'm not American. I can just say as a Canadian, I want no part of that. I want nothing to do with it. Because I want to ensure that no one else suffers the same fate. So I keep sitting in this chair. Because what I saw was a man. What I'm seeing is a man. Abandoned, alone, left in the cold, to die. And I think a piece of America has died with him. Maybe to stay buried forever in that ice in Buffalo. See you back here tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern, on the flip side.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.